Welcome back, everybody, to Comic Shop Talk on the Late Night Collectors community. I'm your host, Nico, and joined with me today, as always, is my co-host, Chris. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, not too bad. How's everything going?
Not bad, not bad. Just celebrating St. Patrick's Day at the time of this recording with some green beer. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Budweiser.
So cheers, Chris.
Cheers.
All right. Well, we're here today to discuss the comic releases of March 16th. 2022 today. This is the week of comic releases for March 16th. And, as always, when we talk about the comics on this show, we just want to throw out the fact that give you a little bit of a spoiler warning there for you guys out there. So, sometimes we got to talk about what happens in the issues to give you guys a good review on these comics. We try our best to kind of steer away from some of the big spoilers sometimes, but then other times not so much. So just to give you a little heads up, a little bit of a spoiler warning here. As always, I put the show notes out for you guys to let you know, at which point in the show we talk about which comics. So if there's certain things you kind of want to avoid and then make sure that you've read them and then come back and listen to them, you could always do that. Check the show notes because I kind of outline that, or just skip ahead. So if there's certain things that you don't want to have spoiled for you. But this is your spoiler warning, so just be aware of that. And as always, thank you for watching. If you guys are checking out this show, if you're a fan of the comics, make sure to hit that notification bell to be notified of when these shows go out every week. Usually they drop about Friday or Saturday every week after me and Chris have read our comics. And so hit the notification bell. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, the Late Night Collectors community, and check out some of our other content that we got out here. We got all kinds of different videos on comics as well as cards, trading cards. I know Chris is going to be up on an upcoming episode of the other show that we do, Cracking Packs with the Chat here, which is a card show that we do here on the Late Night Collectors community where we open up cards. He's going to be opening up a booster box of a new NHL hockey set. So if you guys are interested in that kind of thing, or Pokemon or any of the other stuff that we open up on that show, definitely make sure to check that out as well. All right. Without further ado, though, let's get into it. Chris, you're saying
All
now.
right. Let's talk comics.
There we go. All right. First up on the docket here today, guys, Batman, Superman, World's Finest #1. Yeah. You got the art germ cover. I assumed you were going to. Yeah, that's a nice one. That's with the Batgirls, essentially.
Yeah, you've got Supergirl and Batwoman, Batgirl. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry, a bit of glare, but it's a nice cover. It's sweet.
It's nice. Yeah, absolutely. I like that art.
Hey, on the A cover too. That's pretty sweet as well.
There was one, but it was a high incentive in terms of like the variants. It was the Chip Zdarsky Batman and Superman slapping each other. I wanted those covers, man. Like I almost ordered these, but it would have been like $50 covers or something like that. So I'm not getting them.
I don't know why they do that, man. Why can't they just put that as like a C or D cover and let people buy them? Like
sometimes they make a nice like B, C, or D, like depending on what variants on the actual general market covers, but very like most of the time, no, they're just very basic, kind of like the cardstock ones. But the fact that you got a nice art germ one there, that's nice. Yeah. Is that like considered the cardstock cover of this one though?
I think so. Yeah, this was just like this wasn't any extra cost. It was just
nice,
whatever. Or whatever, maybe. No, $6 or something, I think, like that.
Yeah, so it's about like $5.99. Yeah, because normally they have like a $3.99 and then there's the $4.99 or $5.99 kind of variant of it. Okay, that's not bad. See, that's okay. $1 or $2 is not bad. But anyways, Batman, Superman, World's Finest #1, written by Mark Waid, art by Dan Mora. Actually, I do want to mention the colorist on this because I really thought they did a good job. That's Tamara Bonvillain. Great colors on this one. All right, Chris, what do you think about this one?
I thought it was surprisingly entertaining and a throwback to a less edgier and brighter time for superheroes. Just seeing Ivy and Doom Patrol 2 to throw them in there. I thought that was great. And I think I might follow this for a bit.
Yeah, you know what? I gotta agree with you. And Mark Waid, I mean, you actually tapped into something. Mark Waid hasn't worked for DC in a long time. I think he had a bad relationship with the company years ago. And he is definitely a writer that knows how to kind of tap into that throwback kind of old school style. So the fact that they put him on this Batman Superman title, and like you said, you even kind of noticed the writing, the way they kind of approached even like him and the Robin dynamic and all this kind of. It did feel kind of throwbacky and kind of
even was the Penguin in there, wasn't he? He's wah, he's got all that stuff in there. It's good stuff.
It was. And I got to tell you, when I first started reading this comic, First off, actually, Dan Mora is a great artist. The art was fantastic in this. Great artist. And I was really excited for this book, even for like him just being on board. But then when I started reading this comic, I got to be honest, probably about until halfway through, I'm just like, yeah, this is your pretty basic superhero fare, kind of like what you would expect from a superhero comic. But then like they kept leveling it up, and like everybody started showing up in this. You got the red kryptonite, you got the metallo, you got the poison ivy, you got like there were so many different elements, even in the flashback that they kind of provided us here with the red kryptonite thing, and like and like moving, like you said, the Doom Patrol showing up, and then like he thought that it was Zod, and he thought it was Luthor. There was just so many elements of both of these characters, which you should have in a Batman Superman comic. By the end, I was like, that was pretty enjoyable. Like at first I was kind of feeling like, yeah, whatever, to be honest with you. And then like about halfway through, I'm like, you know what? This is actually pretty solid. Actually, I like it.
Like I wasn't really looking forward to this series. I just, it looked good. The preview covers, and hey, it's a #1 Superman, Batman, fine. But like you say, the story just kept on ramping up, and there wasn't just like a run of the mill story.
Yeah, action, a lot of action in this. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of interest.
Even when Zod showed up there, I go, whoa, holy shit, Zod's in this. But yeah, turned out well.
Right. I don't know what else. Yeah. Well, it was based off the red kryptonite. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like the madness that he gets, he gets driven by madness. Essentially, he gets hit with the red kryptonite, right? But I mean, even those elements, like it's been a while since we've seen some of those things in the Superman comics, or at least I feel like, or even like the Batman stuff, like even him, like in. But like you said, I think you hit on it. Like it's kind of like the throwback, kind of like, like even like the Robin scenes. Like I like how he kind of kept having those like picturette, like those striking moments of him flying through the air along with Batman. Like you'd see like Batman, like of him on like the wire, and then it felt like every time like he showed up, they were like, hey, oh my God, it's Batman. He's like, and Robin, like, like just like swinging, like it was funny, man. Like I liked it. Like the tone of it was like, again, like just good old superhero comics. Like, and that's what I was kind of down on it at first, because I'm like, there's nothing interesting or different about this. And I'm like, no, but that's what the tone he's hitting with this. This is like a good solid superhero comic. So I was like, yeah, I'm in, like by the end of it. I agree. But I wasn't at first. I will tell you that, because I guess I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't.
Yeah, that's it.
It was good. It was good. It was good in a way like I didn't know I needed it until like, until it was there. So what'd you give this one?
I'll give this a 4.
Same. Yeah, man. Good debut. I'm looking forward to more of this as well. Yeah. All right. Next up, Nightwing 90.
Nightwing 90.
All right. This is the an issue that teams up, I guess, sort of the Flash, Wally West Flash shows up in this issue, as you can tell from the cover there.
Yeah.
And a different artist, the Bruno Redondo, of course, who just drew both issues of the crossover. I guess this month he was over at Superman Son of Kal-El last week. He did provided the art for that issue, so I guess that's why he wasn't present in this issue. What'd you think of this one, Chris?
Like I said, with this Nightwing, I'm liking this more and more all the time. It's nice to see the like Flash or other characters, and it's not some crisis event, like you're just kind of doing what they do. And it was a fun comic to read with a good story, and I thought it was good art in there as well with this one.
Yeah, I thought this one was decent. Personally, I don't like, as I know how much I love this comic, I have certain expectations always when I read this one. It's going to be like the best thing I read that week. I wouldn't say this particular issue was like, it was kind of like some more like quieter moments, I think, that in between all the like action that's kind of been happening to him as of lately. But then when you got to the second half of the comic and the Flash showed up and he had some good Wally West moments, like I really liked the moment where he showed up and it showed him like helping out, and like his hands were all like this scene here where his hands were all messed up and they were telling you about his regenerative powers, and he's trying to go through all the wreckage and find Dick Grayson, like amongst all this, like, all this wreckage and stuff like that. And how by the end, when somebody showed up that had messed up Dick Grayson in the previous run of or I guess previously in Nightwing, like that's the whole reason he became Rick Grayson. I don't know if you heard about the stupid Rick Grayson moments. Did you ever hear about that, Chris?
Heard some rumblings about it, but I'm not familiar with the story.
he had amnesia for a little bit and he forgot who he was. So he got really messed up by this bad guy that showed up at the end of this issue. And when he showed up, Flash was like, "Oh, he's like, you're the guy who took out Nightwing a little while." He's like, "Oh, great, I'm gonna finally have my crack at you." There's a lot of us that are really pissed
Well,
off.
it's not, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, it was decent, but I gotta say, I was a little upset that Bruno Redondo didn't draw this. He doesn't have some of the same kind of magic, I think, that he's brought to the book. Like he's drawn every issue, I think, so far up to this point, and I understand why he wasn't on this issue, but or not every issue. There was the crossover ones that happened during Fear State, which it was whatever, but yeah, it lost a little bit, I think, of some of the magic this book has had recently because that artist, like, he doesn't have the same effect as this artist had, but it was still good.
Yeah. I give it a 3.5.
Same. Yeah, same. I give it a 3.5 as well. All right, man.
Okay, so here I got Scorched. Got a Jim Lee homage cover here.
Oh, nice. Looks like X-Men #1. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. I don't know if I actually asked for this in my pull list, but it threw up in there and I was happy it was there. And as for Scorched, like I said, it's the awesome X-Men homage cover. It's great action in here, great art. And I'm kind of finally getting this story coming together. I understand what's going on here a little bit. I seem to have dropped off all the other Spawn issues or Spawn titles. I think I might stick with this one. And I'll give this a 3.52. There's nothing earth-shattering going on, but there's like the Plague, Spawn or something in here, and he seems to be a badass. It's good stuff going on in that, though.
And that's the book with like all the Spawn.
Yeah, it's like the Avengers Spawn or something.
Right. Okay.
Like the Gunslinger Redeemer, she Spawn, and it just seems to be more of an easier story to follow than the Spawn with the angels and demons and all that sort of stuff.
Well, I guess
they're in there, but
I guess
just not so much based on it.
Right. I guess also because you don't have all the baggage of having already had done 300 issues of the series, right? Because obviously, sort of continuity, I guess that's in play for that series because but the thing, if you're confused with those other, the Spawn main title though, is it's not great because they got to understand the fact that they relaunched and started all these new series in the Spawn universe, they got to think to themselves, there's got to be potentially some new readers to the series at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it seems like those Spawns don't move in arcs. It's just like one big freaking long story. And, they're pulling back things from Spawn 200 or something. I'm like, I have no idea what they're talking about.
Right.
But they're still great to look at. And I've read, I've looked at a lot of them already. So, unless there's something going out or some super sweet covers, I might, or if I just kind of see them and it's a light week, which it hasn't been in a while, then maybe I'll pick one up.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. All right.
And then we got another one here. What's this? Carnage #1. Let's see. What do I have to say about Carnage? I wasn't too thrilled with it. Oh. See, Carnage is holding Hydro Man prisoner in here. He's got something planned, but they don't reveal it out. There's a second story here, and it's some life lesson about the cost of violence. And like I said, I'm not sure I'm going to continue with this one. He's a good Spider-Man villain when he was with Cletus. Is it Cletus Cassidy?
Yeah.
And he's not in this. And Spawn's or whatever, Carnage is just kind of roaming around.
Who's Carnage? Who's Carnage in this if it's not Cletus Cassidy? Who is it?
Well, he's himself, like the symbiote's his own thinking being. Like how Venom kind of thinks on his own.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think if that happened during, because I read all the Donny Cates stuff where he showed up at the Absolute Carnage. I guess, yeah, because I thought he was still possessed. I thought during Absolute Carnage he still had possessed Cletus Cassidy, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, so he's his own thing now. He's just out and about. Okay.
Yeah, he's just out and about. And the second story, I think he's bonded with some kid or something like that.
Okay.
And then. Yeah, it was nothing earth shattering in there. It's some nice scenes, some nice violence, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's not for me, not right now.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd give this 2.5.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, they can all be winners.
not this week.
No, not this week. Yeah. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Try to keep it positive to this week, guys. Try to find the good in some of these things. It kind of a middling week, to be honest, but we'll power through. Okay, Batman the Knight, number 3. Now, this was a book that I said here I was going to drop. And then when Chip Zdarsky got mentioned to be the new Batman writer, I was like, okay, well, if this is kind of Chip Zdarsky's year one Batman of him before becoming Batman, maybe there's going to be something interesting in this series that he's going to talk about that's actually going to play into his main series. I mean, there's a 10-issue series. I didn't love the first 2 issues, but it was different, I'll say. Like, it's not even your typical year one story about Batman thus far. Like, he does go to, like, I guess at this point he's in Europe somewhere trying to kind of learn, like, you know, you have all the same elements but that are there, but it's being told in a different way. So he is definitely taking certain elements about Batman that we've all seen done before and kind of maybe approach it differently, which isn't a bad thing. So I was like, yeah, you know, this is all right, but I read like 10 other Batman books, so this one isn't gonna, you know, make the cut. So I said I was gonna drop it. But anyways, I'm glad I didn't, actually, in this case. To be honest with you, this is the best issue of the series so far. By the end of the issue, again, I feel like I'm repeating myself here, but there was a lot of issues this week where I'm like, the first half, I was like, okay, whatever. And then the second half, I was like, okay, all right. Then now we're getting somewhere. Some interesting things have happened and amped up a little bit. By the end, you got like a lot of really great moments. Like Ducard, basically, he ends up getting shot because they're investigating like this serial killer murderer type person, and that he thought that Batman and this like Catwoman-esque character that's in Europe, who's like a new character as far as I'm concerned. Like she's a thief. Batman was learning how she does her thing and how she's such a good thief, right? I guess he was picking up skills from her. And at the end of the last issue, Ducard, who was like, I guess like you thought he was like a private investigator, but he's more like I guess like somebody who finds people, like a hitman, like one of these go-to type people that like I guess people hire for stuff. He tracks them down, and he thought that they had a connection to this murderer that he was investigating as well. Turns out they had stole from the person who ended up being the murderer. Like the people that they stole from in the last issue actually was the murderer. And he had like, you know, like in the jewelry box that they stole, he had some teeth, like, you know, mementos that serial killers keep from their victims, essentially, in the jewelry box that is revealed to them in this issue. And so then Ducard's like, by the way, like your butler back in America, Alfred, he's the one that hired me to track you down. And he's like, yeah, but I bet you didn't ask you to do anything else, like kill me or anything like along those. He's like, no, he just wanted to know where you were. So now that I found you, you know, our business should be done here. But then again, you know, Bruce wants to now get involved in his kind of like him tracking down this serial killer, because he's not only trying to own his skills right now, he's also, you know, I guess he's interested in helping people and stuff at this point in his career, right? So because he's now trying to find himself essentially in Europe, and that's why he left Alfred and he's trying to do his thing. And so by the end of this, they track down the serial killer, and the serial killer ends up killing a victim that he couldn't get to in time. Even though he figured it out, like he figured out who his next victim was going to be from the clues that Ducard had basically collected at this point. So he tracks him down, and in the midst of doing so, he ends up seeing the dead body of the person he killed. Was there was his daughter was in the room hiding. I guess unbeknownst to the serial killer, and Batman, Bruce Wayne shows up and he sees this. And then when he actually comes face to face with a serial killer, he just beats the shit out of him, because he's like, you don't know how you've traumatized this girl now, because obviously it's Bruce Wayne. He knows how that goes, right? So I got to say, at this point in time, he doesn't show up. He's not Batman in this book at all. So it's a very different tone, and kind of like, and it took me a while for me to wrap my head around that. Like, this is a Batman book, but he's not necessarily Batman yet. So it's like almost like a police procedural at this point in this issue, right? So like, it's actually really, really good. And I was like, okay, I'm glad I didn't drop this. It's Batman book, but it's Batman before he was Batman. And there's some interesting things going on that sets it apart from all the other different Batman books out right now, I gotta say. So I'm on board now. It's a 10-issue series. This is number 3. I gave this a 4. I liked it. I thought by the end of it, I'm like, okay, you can see sort of the connective tissue of how he becomes Batman and what affects him, and how he actually is learning from these people, and how it's going to eventually get to that point where he turns into Batman. You know, this first arc was just 3 issues of this 10-issue miniseries, and I bet by the end of this 10 issues, you know, you're actually going to see him finally put on the cowl, probably, right? Like don the cowl, I would assume,
Yeah.
right? So it was a good issue, and it was unexpected. So I'm gonna stick with it. So I gave it a 4. All right, next up, Reckoning War, Trial of the Watcher. I don't know, Chris. You didn't end up reading this. I think you missed out, my friend. I
Oh,
think
it's a good one.
this was an excellent issue. This was an
Ah, come
excellent
on.
issue. This was the highlight of this week. Javier Rodriguez, the artist on this, I'm a big fan of. He's got like kind of like an interesting style. Again, it looks kind of old school, but also kind of new all at the same time. It is cartoony, but I really dig his style. But anyways, this Trial of the Watcher issue is where they left off at the end of the last Fantastic Four one. They basically said all the other Watchers were like, you ought to, like, you're out of line. You're not supposed to interfere. And in this one, they basically strap him to this like eye chair here, and then face him to a monitor. And it's his actual father who brings him the task for all this kind of stuff. And then they're sitting there chatting, and he's telling him all the things that he's done wrong. Doesn't it break into an issue of like a what if issue? The issue turns into like a what if.
Oh, no way.
So all this here, he turns to the monitors. He's like, I am aware that you've been observing these humans, and they have like, I guess, a device that he used like in the What If series to basically play out the moments if certain things, of course, went different directions, like the What If series did. Like if this didn't happen, what would happen? Yeah. He's like, I know you've been observing these humans. And like you kind of see a bunch of illustrations here, like Venom with the guns, like things that actually Hulk, that was Conan. You see things here that happened in the actual original What If series a little bit played out in front of you. Like, see, Spider-Man's got the 5. He was a Fantastic Four member. It was What If Spider-Man joined the Fantastic Four. These are all original What If concepts. So you see this, and you see them talking about this, and he's like, I know you've been watching these outcomes for these humans. And yeah, like, you know, you shouldn't be doing that. Like, and like, what the one person you never actually looked at throughout all this is, what if you didn't interfere with one of these scenarios? And then he's like, it's like, no, everything I've done, I did for a reason. I know I'm not in the wrong here. You're wrong, father. And he's like, okay. So he hooks him up to it. And then this becomes like essentially a what if issue. And they show you what if Uatu didn't interfere with the Galactus trilogy, the Galactus story of him in Fantastic Four when they use the ultimate nullifier. And then they kind of retell the story if Uatu wasn't actually part of it. Like if he didn't warn Reed of the coming of Galactus, if he didn't warn, and if he didn't interfere with the Silver Surfer and his part in this. And then what ends up happening is that you find out they found another way. They found another way to save themselves. And the whole time he's watching this, Uatu's like, no, at every turn, he's like, see, because there's a lot of moments where it looks like they're screwed. He's like, if I didn't interfere, they would have got killed. If I didn't do this, this would have happened. And then like by the end of it, things actually work out for them. And he's like, this is why we do not interfere. Like you were in the wrong to do so. You changed the course of history essentially because of your interference. And yeah, things don't look good for Uatu at the end of this. He's like, now you're going to be doomed to rewatch all of your mistakes that you've made. They basically sentenced him to watch the outcomes of everything that he's interfered with. And they actually bring him the task in this issue. They actually bring up several instances, which I recall a lot of them from Marvel history, where Uatu has interfered in the sense of like helping the humans, or so he thought. So it's just an excellent issue. I'm a huge fan of the Watcher. I'm totally on board with this event. It started off slow for me, as you recall, and I just love it now. And the art and the story and the fact that it was like a what if issue unexpectedly, I gave this a 4.5. I thought it was excellent.
Oh, nice. I might have to
just
take a read online and pick up an issue if I see one kicking around.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth it, man. Like it was really good. It felt like an old school Fantastic Four story at the same time, and a what if issue. And it kind of really played a big part for the character of Uatu the Watcher in this Reckoning War series. So yeah, definitely check it out.
Nice.
All right. Next up, Justice League 74. You want to start off with this one, Chris? I don't know your feelings on this one, but but yeah, Justice League.
Well, I guess it's the final battle between Chaos and Order. Was what was going on in here?
Yeah.
And I don't know, they win somehow. I didn't really pick up what they did to win. And let's see. I thought it was great art in the dark battle, like when they're battling in the dark there. I thought that was good stuff. And then when they kind of went back to the Hall of Justice, then it kind of just dropped off there. I really didn't have any big feelings about this issue. Like, yeah, I thought the art was great, but I still have no idea what was going on when they were fighting, or who they were fighting first of all, and how they won or whatever. But anyways, what do you think?
Well, this is where we part ways, my friend. I think I picked up on this last time we talked about the book as well too. I think you lean more towards, you do like more of this, the more realistic looking, almost photo referencey kind of art. I'm starting to feel right more so than
well, for the big titles, I think
more so than cartoony art, though. You said you don't like cartoony looking art. You don't like because I hate this artist. This artist right here. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this, but this is, art's subjective. So like you say you like this art, I don't. So the fact that Simon Kodransky, this artist, drew most of this issue, and we had all this, it's too dark for me. Like it's like, and their backs are turned half the fucking time. Or like, they're sifting around and like, I don't know what the hell's going on here. like there's energy. Like I know what's going on, but I don't like it, man. It's just not very expressive to me. And like, it's not a good look. Like you like more of like the I think like more of like photorealistic-y, like realistic looking art, right? Like
yeah, well, it's for, like I say, for the big titles or for stuff like that, I think it's great. But
no, that's cool, man. That's what I mean. Like that's you like it more than I do. I hate this artist. So like again, the artist that's been doing, like he did most of this particular issue. I didn't enjoy that. And like you said, the story was kind of like whatever. And like yeah, I don't know. Like I really dislike this issue a lot. Like it was, I'm just looking forward to the next one. Hopefully something interesting will happen that'll end this series out with the death of the Justice League. But at the same time, I'm so down on this title moving into this last issue. And the fact that like, again, they made Naomi the kind of the center of this. She's the fact that she can manipulate magic, I guess, to her somehow. She can magnify, they said magic. Yeah, that's basically what took out this guy. That's to your point of you didn't really know what happened. Naomi was apparently the answer to everything somehow, and who the hell knows why. Like they just, again, it's Bendis's creation. He wanted to make her an important cog in this an important piece in this whole like storyline. But like, did she really earn that moment? Like Batman mentions that at the end too. She gets the Batlament, as they say. It's the compliment. It's like Black Canary's like, yeah, Ollie calls it the Batlament. It's very rare, but he praises her and says, hey, you did a good job, blah blah blah. And but like he mentions a bunch of things that Bendis has written her in recently that all apparently have happened in a week, right? So he's like, yeah, you should stay on the Justice League. You've done pretty good your first week. And I'm just like, come on.
Yeah, they're fighting a magic person. She have to be suited for magic. But like I said, I bought these. Like I just started to pick up Justice League because I thought there'd be some lead into 75. But this looks like it has nothing to do with 75.
No. Yeah, I will say I did like the one thing I liked at the moment was Black Adam at the end of it. They like his whole place is destroyed, like his is like and their Justice League are trying to help him, and he's like, no, leave me be, like this is for me to take care of. And then Batman's like, no, this is what we do, like you get used to this, like if you're going to be part of the Justice League, we help each other out. And then he had like a smile on his face. And I was like, okay, like that was a nice moment. The fact that like they kind of acknowledge he's a bad guy and now he's with the Justice League. So like he's not used to this kind of treatment, right? Like people helping him, right? So I thought that was like, other than that, like I thought he wrote a bad Constantine and I didn't like the art. And so anyways, yeah. What'd you give this one?
Yeah, but I give this one a 3.
I gave it a 2.5, but that's again because the art, I think, mostly. But but yeah, like you said, it was kind of a lackluster issue. So anyways, X Lives of Wolverine number 5, the ending of this mini series. Yeah, I read this digitally. What'd you think of this?
I thought it was a good ending to a lousy run. And maybe reading it all together might kind of get better flow to it or bring some, stability to the series. I thought there were some good panels in here, though, with Wolverine there. I got some good facial expressions in there. And I kind of like how the ending ties into the cliffhanger tying into X Deaths. I thought that was pretty good for the end of this one.
Yeah, man, you hit on everything I pretty much want to mention about this book. Yeah, you hit it right on the nail on the head there. I agree with you. I think it was this issue along with last issue. It finally kind of made sense what was going on this whole mini series. I thought this was a solid ending to the miniseries. It all kind of became all about like his legacy and Wolverine and his legacy and like all the things that he's lived through, and you know what I mean, and yeah, the tie-in of the actual what's his name, the Wolverine showing up from the other series, the X Deaths.
Yeah, whatever, the Techno Wolverine or something.
Yeah,
I always
yeah,
thought that was him. I thought that was like the current day Wolverine that was living and coming back, but I guess not, because now you're gonna have the current day Wolverine fighting
yeah,
himself, basically.
yeah. Yeah, it's funny and timely, I guess, also as well. There's the, Omega Red is a Russian. Like the fact that there's like him against the Russians in this, because we didn't really know, like, we didn't know going into this, and maybe they set this up in the Wolverine series or something we didn't read prior to this, but I wish I knew what I knew by the end of this series at the start of this series, because maybe I would have looked at it differently, because by the end of this, you now understand that dude, the Russian guy, Arcady or whatever his name was, he basically did to what they did to Wolverine. Like they tapped into his mind using fucking
Yeah,
Omega Red. And that's why he was chasing him throughout all these time periods. And okay, that's cool. But like when they first jumped into this series, there really was no explanation of that. So like I was so lost, and they kept bouncing around, and it was like, what is all this for? And then by the end of this, it makes a little bit more sense. And I was like, okay, like I didn't mind this issue in that sense. Like you said, it was the best issue probably in a bad mini series. And that's
yeah.
it. Yeah. So what'd you give it?
I'll give that I'll give it a 3.5.
Same. Yeah, I also gave it 3.5. Yeah, unexpected, honestly. I was
Yeah,
like,
I thought it'd be garbage. I was hot, like probably give it a 3.5 just because it was over, and I was pleasantly surprised that it was that there was some resolution to the series.
yeah, and I also felt like I understood what was going on more,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah. So, all right.
Okay, what do we got up next here? Avengers 54. See, there's a lot of conclusions to arcs in here, and I don't think I'm digging the conclusions,
Yeah.
because sometimes there's good stories and you can't finish them up. So this is the Death Hunter's conclusion. Some good Thor versus Thor stuff in here.
Ooh.
And let's see, you got Namor and Black Panther holding up Avengers Mountain. The Doom Above All is here, and I think basically he came back in time to try and kill all the Deathlocks. And I imagine he did what he wanted to do, and then he just split. Like he jumps in the time portal, goes back to his own time. They tease some other stuff going on in there about some Red Council or something, and basically, I think this is just a tease to some upcoming Avengers battle where the Avengers kind of get a look at what some future enemies look like, and they're not ready, and they need to get ready for them when they do show up. It's kind of like that Star Trek one where the Borg show up, and then they fucking take off. But now Star Trek knows the Borg is out there, and they're not prepared for them.
Right. I gotta compliment the cover there, because I know you're usually a fan of a cover that
Oh yeah,
actually talks about what's happening in the issue. You got a word balloon on the cover, and that doesn't
yeah.
happen.
And I thought it was a nice decent cover. A fun cover there with the Avengers are dead.
Yeah.
Not really.
Judgment Day is coming. That's the crossover this summer between what, Eternals, Avengers, and X-Men.
X-Men, yeah. I don't know. Somehow I'll probably read it, but I'm not jazzed for it. Let's say.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So what you
Just
give
knowing how these things go, unless this is, they got some good writers on it and it's something big, but I'm starting to lose interest in these mega crossovers.
That's the thing. Sometimes there's too many cooks in the kitchen, and I know you're buying in at the start of kind of getting back into this hobby, but that's why I don't know if you've noticed. Sometimes I steer away from a lot of these big events, because they end up. You go in sometimes with being so excited for these things, and then they more times than not they end up being a dud, like a little more disappointing than anything, right?
But maybe now that they're not so universal, let's say, like the Devil's Reign, where it's just more the street level ones. And, even the Fantastic Four, it's not really a big crossover event, but it's pretty decent. So
that's a good point.
who knows?
Those are both events that we're enjoying, but not like line wide events. Like if they
Yeah.
stay in their corner of their story or the universe that story is being told, then yeah, I'm okay with it. You're right. That is a good point. That is a good point, because there is two books that those are two events, let's say, that we've been talking good on.
Yeah, like I'm just not big on the Eternals, and I'm glad the Inhumans aren't in there or something for some reason.
Right.
Like, but we'll see.
So what'd you give this one?
The Avengers, I'll give it a 3.5.
Okay. All right. Nice. And next up,
What do we got? Titans United. This one of the variant covers there. I got Starfire. I don't know,
that's a
doing
nice.
what she does. It's a pretty
Yeah.
decent cover.
Yeah.
And where do we got? Titans United. There we go. So all's well that ends well in this comic. It would and there's one scene where the Titans kind of get together and they attack, and it would have been nice if Nightwing were to say Titans go, but he didn't. He said
Right.
Titans United. Anyways, I guess that's why he's the title. It was a stock kind of comic storyline, and I think it was just upgraded by some decent art and some good color. So it's not the story with I don't know, his sister coming in, and at the end everybody gets all they all come together and become a team again. So it's nothing new or nothing that's out there. Just kind of expect what happened. I still don't like it when they have because I guess in the earlier issues all the Titans were fighting each other, or the Superman character kind of turned on them.
Okay.
But then once he broke free of the influence, he's back and everybody's all happy and they're all chummy again, like nothing happened. Like this guy just tried to kill you. And,
Yeah.
and then you're joking around with him again after. But
Right.
anyway.
I don't think we'd be on good terms after that.
Yeah, it's kind of giving it stink eye for a little bit at least.
At least, yeah.
But it was there was a decent series. This is the end of the series, so it was a 7-issue run, I think.
Okay.
And it was okay. It was entertaining. The series itself, I'd probably give maybe a 3.5 or a 4. And just because it's some of the characters I haven't seen in a while, like I haven't really read much of the Titans. I'm only kind of familiar with them because of that stupid T Titans Go show on
I was gonna say,
cartoon.
because you said they didn't say Titans Go, I figured you were a fan of that cartoon. That's apparently very good for adults and kids. That one,
yeah, it's a popular cartoon, and it'd be nice if they just throw it in there,
Right.
Everybody know it is, know what it's about, and say Titans Unite. Come on, just the Titans Go.
I've yet to watch it, but to your point, I've heard many people tell me how much they enjoy that cartoon.
Yeah, it's like a little 15-minute cartoon, and they talk about some kind of good stuff. Not good stuff, but relevant stuff that's going on in the DC universe.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just about to say that. What I've heard that's great about it is that they actually put a lot of actual continuity from the DC universe, and things that if you're an adult and you're a fan of this stuff, you're like, oh yeah, they mentioned that, they know about that. That's so cool. Yeah, I gotta watch this show. I've heard good things, man. So what'd you give that one? You said 3.5?
Yeah, I give it a 3.5.
Okay, cool.
It's not bad, but it was nothing special.
All right, so next up we got the Silver Coin, number 10. So at the end of every 5-issue kind of 5 issues this series brings out, it looks like Michael Walsh, the artist of this series, who always draws it but gets other people to write it, writes the 5th issue. So he did number 5, and then at the end of again another 5 issues, he wrote number 10 and drew it. And he's primarily known as a artist, not a writer, but I think he's been doing a pretty good job because this is his story. I think he's basically giving the plot outlines to the writers for the most part, maybe. I think they're all coming with their own story, but there's a through line of what the coin is that I think they have to follow. And then there's certain things that they kind of tap into their stories that kind of tie back together. And this issue here, that Michael Walsh wrote, Andrew, started with all these kids, these high school kids sitting here smoking a joint, getting high. And then the one kid's talking to the fucking raccoon, or at least she thinks she's talking to the raccoon. And the other kids are like, she doesn't fucking understand this animal. But as the reader, you see actual word balloons coming from the raccoon. We know what they're saying, or maybe she knows what they're saying somehow. And anyways, this girl, and then after the other kids go to class, she takes a trip into the woods, close to the school, this bird, the actual crow that's been kind of throughout the whole storyline so far, showing up ominously, in different stories so far, which is never a good sign, like a crow just kind of chilling, right? Like it shows up, and after she's talking to she thinks she can talk to the raccoon, she starts talking to this crow, and then the crow kind of leads her out into the woods, and then she sees like this like person that looks like they're fused into a tree or something, and from there it starts going into like her in her head, the voices of like the coin trying to get to her and basically making her bust out like a seance of sort of to maybe like bring whatever evil spirits are in the coin or people that are trapped in the coin, at least they tell the girl, out. And her friends come over to her house that evening and they basically bust out this seance, which is never a good scenario in any horror movie. Like, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't bring whatever's in this thing. They're lying to you, probably. Anyways, yeah, hijinks ensue. It doesn't end well for these people. But there's a lot of stuff that's in this issue. It seems like that's important to probably the overall kind of story being told about this coin. And so for that matter, it was more of an info dump, I felt, than the other issues where the other writers just got to come in and do a one and done story involving the coin. So Michael Walsh obviously is a creator of this. He knows why this is important. We don't really know everything like at this point in time. So, but because of that, this issue wasn't as enjoyable for me reading because it felt more important to the overall kind of story that's going to be told by the end of this series than it did just a nice one and done horror story like all the other writers have had the chance to do. This was like Michael Walsh coming in as a creator and being like, okay, I need to connect the dots a little bit here for the readers where this is all going to make sense at the end. So I know it was needed and necessary, but like, as an experience reading it, the art was great as always because he's the artist of all these issues. I really enjoy his art, but I gave it a 3.5 for that reason. I didn't feel it was as enjoyable as maybe some of the other issues where they could just come in and tell their story, where this one was like, okay, I need to do a little bit of legwork now and make sense of all this, right? And while I don't want to spoil anything, that's why it made sense to me, but or at least as a reader what we're supposed to know up to this point, but I won't go into the weeds on like how it all connects at this point, but yeah, there's definitely, especially this dude on the cover, there's definitely some things going on in the series, so it's interesting. I still really like it, and they announced the next creators at the end of this issue that are going to be working on the next 5 issues with him, and there's some good people there, so I'm looking forward to it.
Nice.
All right, Wonder Woman.
Yeah, the death of an Amazon is part of the trials of the, what is that, the trials of Wonder Woman or the trials of the Amazon? Yeah. Trial of the Amazon, part 3 of 7. I was trying to get a couple of the early ones, but I think I just got on my pull list late. So I'm kind of late to the party on this one. I guess Queen, is it Hippolyta, whatever her name is, she's dead.
Yeah, Hippolyta, I think is pronounced. Yeah.
Hippolyta. Yeah. She's dead. The murder is unknown. And the 3 tribes of the Amazons come together, and for the first time in a long time, it seems, and there's a lot of mistrust between them. I didn't even know there's 3 tribes. And I guess this trial is some battle between each of the tribes, and each tribe has to choose a champion. And I guess one tribe chooses Yara Flora. She's Wonder Girl, I think. Yeah. Another one chooses Donna Troy. Is that Wonder Woman's sister, or?
She actually used to be Wonder Woman at one point in the history of the Wonder Woman comics, I believe. Donna Troy is, I don't think she's her. Well, they're all sisters, right?
Wow, sister.
I don't think she's her,
or like a blood sister or something. No,
I don't think so. I think she's just one of the other Amazonians. I think I might be wrong though. Maybe I'm wrong. I really don't know actually, but I don't think it's her sister.
Yeah, and then I think one of the other champions is the captain of the Queen's Guards or something. And then, Wonder Woman, she's still overcome with grief and anger because somebody in the Amazon Islands, I guess, killed the queen. And she wants to figure that out. But then she overcomes her grief to fight for all the Amazons. And that's how this issue ends. I don't know if that's a spoiler, but I don't think anybody's reading this anyway. So we'll see.
Are you going to continue with it though? Is most importantly,
I think I might pop a few more and see what's going on. It's 3 of 7. I haven't really read much Wonder Woman, and I was hoping for more of a, maybe not an Amazonian series, but we'll see. They got a lot of good characters there. I gotta see what they're all about.
I like
And yeah,
I like Wonder Girl. I've read the start of her series. I like her as a
is
character.
that the Yara Flora Wonder Girl?
Yeah,
Because I heard that was decent, and they just pulled the plug on it
it
for
was.
unknown reasons.
It was. The artist was writing and drawing it. I'm a huge fan of her, that the woman that was working on it. I'm a really big fan of her art, but to be honest, I don't think she's the strongest writer. I don't know if that has something to do with it, but I did drop it myself, but I did read the first like 3 issues because I really like her art. Like, so like when that series started, and I really liked the character, I really liked her art, but it just, the writing wasn't as strong, I felt. But yeah, she is a popular character as far as I know, like a new one.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
give it a 3.5 just because I'm not familiar with what's going on in there.
Okay.
But there was enough in there to keep me going. I want to see what this battle's about, and I don't know, I guess to see Wonder Woman fight Wonder Girl and Donna Troy. I know if she's a Wonder something, but it
Yeah.
should be a good battle. If they end up fighting, I imagine they'll not fight, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Next up, or I guess our final book of the night actually is Amazing Spider-Man 92 dot Beyond Bay.
Hey,
Yeah. So that's
Spider-Man, baby.
yeah. So this one is Jed McKay, Cody Ziegler, and new ongoing writer past the Beyond era, Zeb Wells, were the writers. With like 5-6 different artists in this one, and color artists. There's a big creative team on this one. So what do you think of this one, Chris?
Not bad for a Bay issue or for a Beyond issue. That's what I thought. And there's a bit of a Morbius and Lizard tease in there, I think. I thought that was good. They teased a lot of stuff in this one. A lot of seeds were planted in this issue, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm still looking forward to 93. I thought there'd be more lead up to 93 in this. I thought it'd be more of a Spider-Man continuation series, but it did focus a lot on Monica Rambeau and everybody else around there.
It kind of like was almost like not a prelude, a prologue to the Beyond issues, actually, because the Slinger showed up in this issue.
Yeah.
They did have the whole Daughters of the Dragon people at the start here with this Morbius scene. These are things that happened during the actual series. It felt like it kind of dealt with a lot of stuff that was in the Beyond issues and a couple of the other loose like story
tied up some loose ends, hopefully just to free up some space for 93.
So in that sense, I thought they actually did a pretty good job for that Beyond issue. I agree with you. Probably, other than maybe that Doc Ock one that you remember you had enjoyed. This is probably one of the stronger Beyond issues, if not the strongest, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Is there anything else you had to mention on it?
No, that's about it. Like I said, not much going on, but I thought it was good.
My favorite story was the Monica Rambeau one. Actually, I like Monica Rambeau, and she was a member of Next Wave. So the fact that Machine Man showed up in this, I love Machine Man. Like, there is a comic series called Next Wave that Warren Ellis wrote that was really great, and they were both members of it. And he used to call all the humans fleshy things or fleshing beings or something like that. And so the fact that he showed up talking like that in this, I was just like, I don't know which writer wrote which scenes in this because there's 3 of them. There's like 3 different stories being told, but I really enjoyed the Monica Rambeau one, and I also really enjoyed the moment of that guy that works at Beyond, like the dude that.
I like that. Yeah, that's what I want to talk about too.
Yeah,
that was a good thing. And I don't know if that's going to lead to something. Like, they spend a lot of time on. I got to know who these characters are, who that guy is, if he's anybody.
No, but Chris, he was, I think, in those issues. I think he was in the Doc Ock issue. This guy, I think must have been written by, I think, the Cody Ziegler guy, because that was the issue where they showed like he's the dude I think that met Doc Ock in that issue, that Beyond one.
Yeah.
I think he was one of the dudes that worked for Beyond. And again, like he kept like talking like he's gangster or something. Like, it was really funny, like the way he was talking. Like,
he's about to get fired. He's like, whoa, hold on, let me explain. And
it was funny, man. I was like, yeah, I liked this, and I liked the Monica Rambeau story, man. I dug it. Yeah, the Morbius stuff was cool, and like obviously that's gonna go somewhere.
Yeah, I don't like the way they freaking killed that. They build up that lizard like some big deal, and they freaking off him in like 2 pages. Come on.
But that pissed me off starting this issue. I'm like, what happened? So I'm glad they kind of brought it back around a little bit towards it. for a second, I was just like, and then they moved on to the Monica Rambeau story. And I was like, hold on a second. Like,
yeah, it's like they spend the whole issue building up the monster behind the door Z, and then he comes in and just bite me, don't worry, it'll fix you. And he blows up or something.
Not only that, though, the Lizard's a pretty big, he's part of the Rogues Gallery of Spider-Man. So I was just
it wasn't the lizard that the monster was. That was like a lizard hybrid or something.
I know, but the Lizard himself, like,
but he is there, isn't he? Wasn't
by the end.
He show up there? Yeah.
At the end. That's why I was like, I'm glad they brought that back. Yeah. Like, well, what's going on with the Lizard? Because during the Nick Spencer run, the Lizard actually was teaching fucking college again. Like, this guy, or university, this guy actually was like, okay again, like but that's always the Lizard's shtick. He's always like, I'm a good guy, I'm a bad guy, I'm cured, I'm not. Like, that's always Morbius. Morbius is a good guy.
Well, what I think with this Morbius and Lizard tease, I've seen some of the issue or the covers of the Amazing Spider-Man coming up, and I think they might have something to do with that.
Okay.
Like, in the solicitations, you try not to see, but when the cover's out there, you can kind of start piecing things together.
I could not give a shit about these slingers. I was like, don't even bring.
Oh yeah.
At least they gave them only 2 pages, and I'm like, get out of here with that.
Well, that's it. At least give Ben Reilly something to beat up. He's like, who the hell are you guys? I'm gonna take you out. And then when they kind of go, what? Whoa, we're fighting him? Come on.
Yeah, anyways, so yeah, I thought, obviously, like any issue that's going to have like 3-4 different creatives on it and stories, it's a bit of a mixed bag, but I thought overall it was, for a Beyond issue, I was like, okay, I go in with low expectations on these ones.
Oh yeah, definitely going in with the low expectations on this, and I was surprised again.
What'd you give it, this one?
I'm not going to give it a great score, though. I'm still giving it a 3.5.
Same.
I thought 3.5 might be a bit high for this, maybe a 3 even.
I'm going to give it a 3.5, but that's because it was such a mix, kind of like a variety of stories, and each artist and everything was like, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to give any book that's like an anthology, if you're going to rate all of it together, like a perfect like score, like, right? So like this one, though, I'll give it 3.5 because I think the Monica Rambeau story was probably my favorite. And then the one after it was pretty good too. Like, those were 4 stories, those ones, but because it was switched with the other stuff, I was like, I got to give it a 3.5. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, and I just feel like, I don't know, I'm scoring crappy comics too high sometimes, like, I don't want to be out there saying, this is a 2 or a 2.5. It sounds bad because they're not really all that bad, but just to get more sort of differential, to kind of give more power to a 4 or a 4.5,
No, I agree with you in that sense, because today I was also thinking about that to myself. I'm like, at first I was going to give that Justice League. Well, I think you may have did it because, like you said, you like the art, but you gave it a 3. And I was like, you know what? I should give more 3s out, because I always give things 3.5, but 3.5 is on the verge of like really good.
Yeah, it's almost good. Yeah.
Right. Which I'm like, I should give more things a 3, in the sense, like, this was okay. Like, it wasn't that great. Like, you shouldn't give a middling between 3 and 4. No, you should give it a 3. Right. So yeah, I'm with you. And that's why for me, I gave the Justice League a 2.5 this week. I was like, I really didn't enjoy this.
Yeah, but even with that Carnage, I enjoyed the story, but I don't think I was buying it, and
anyways.
Like, I just feel bad that they're just gonna freaking hose me with great covers of Carnage, freaking spawning and doing everything he does, and you go in there and it's, I don't know, you got some serial killer.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we wanted to mention for our In the News segment this week, the recent JLA Avengers reprint. Me and Chris were lucky and fortunate enough to actually get a copy of this 7,000 printed copy limited edition of this reprint of JLA Avengers, the classic Kurt Busiek written, George Perez drawn miniseries that was a company crossover that simply would not happen today, essentially, because the relationship between these companies. The last printing of a paperback edition and a hardcover edition of this series was in 1998. So during the 90s, there was a period of time where the industry just self-destructed. The bottom fell out on it, right? So because of all the speculating and things that went on, Marvel almost went bankrupt. This was at a time where these two companies were both banking on each other to actually bring in money for themselves at that point in time, because the bubble burst on the industry and it was not doing so well in the 90s. They were churning out a lot of bad quality comics for the most part. And yeah, I mean, that was the downfall almost of the comic industry during that period of time. And then, of course, with the 2000s brought, at least with Marvel, the whole Marvel Knights era, the fact that they had to sell off their IP to Spider-Man films, where they just recently got back somewhat, at least part of it, right? X-Men, they sold Fantastic Four. Like, they almost sold all their IP at that time. We almost wouldn't have got a Marvel Studios. That's how bad they were doing at that point in time. So it's funny to think that now, when the movie industry for Marvel and like even DC is huge now, right? Like,
Well, it's even funny, like just for the MCU, they basically did that with all their B characters because they sold all their A characters already, you know?
right. Yeah, no, absolutely. So,
Like, back in the 90s, the 80s, Iron Man was nobody, like Avengers weren't the greatest. Captain America wasn't, a super popular. He's a popular comic, but, he wasn't, they've tried, some of the movies back from the 80s
yeah.
of that, back, when 80s, 90s, it was all about Punisher, and stuff like that. And, they sold those stories, how many Punisher movies have been out there already.
Because when you went into the 90s, you became part of the extreme era. Like, Image Comics was leading the way with all the artists that went over there. Like,
Well, I think that's what happened to DC and Marvel. All the great artists that kind of fueled this boom, they all split.
But
And then, I see some of those artists from the 2000s, some of the comics, and look,
yeah,
like, maybe I think it started doing it on computers, but everything's just seemed to be rough and just done quickly, like it wasn't like a Jim Lee cover or stuff out there was just like, wow, all the time, even when they were on nothing, like some throwaway cover, like, he was doing Alpha Flight or something, it's like, holy, or that Mark Texiera or something. And, he'd be spitting out these awesome covers. And he's like, wow, I got to buy this comic. And, and I thought it was great, but I guess it all fell apart. I was out by then already.
well, I was gonna say, even you probably more so than I know all about this, because like that is when you kind of went out, is in the mid 90s amongst all this shit going on. That's kind of when I went out too. But I mean, at that, I was much younger a little bit at that point, right? But at the same time, I bought into some of the gimmicks that they were doing, like with the death of Superman and this kind of thing at that time. But then when they became with Marvel, when it came to like things like the Onslaught crossover between all the X-Men books and everything else, and all of this, the Marvel universe and everything, like, and this clone saga, even me at that point, I was like, I'm out. Like, I was just too much for me, right? Like, I kind of dipped my toe in the Image stuff, only mostly probably Spawn and at the time, to be honest with you. But a lot of that did have to do with the fact that Todd McFarlane was the one doing that. And like you said, that's why a lot of people followed people over to Image, but then they found out that it was just all the substance. It was all like, it wasn't, there was no actual good stories being told over there. It was just all art, right? The art was good, but the stories really weren't, right? So then I think a lot of people bought into that and the speculation of the 90s and the trading card shit that was going on at that time too. And just like the trading cards, comics, but the bubble burst and everybody kind of lost out a lot of money, and basically the industry was in the toilet. So I mean, like, I know that's part of a bigger conversation, but the fact of the matter is, this was a collaboration that was done at that time, because they even had the DC versus Marvel event as well that happened during that period of time, and I bought as well, I remember. And these were things that were exciting because they were like, okay, we're going to put all of our eggs in one basket here, bring all of our characters together and tell a story. And George Perez, the legendary artist who basically is the reason why the Teen Titans are a thing. He drew half of the original Infinity Gauntlet. Like, he did a great Wonder Woman run, redefined the character, basically moving forward. He worked on Avengers in the 90s with Kurt Busiek, and that's maybe the reason why, like, they teamed these two up together for this crossover. He's one of these artists that has worked at both companies and just has a lot of fantastic work that he's done. And there's not many artists that have done that at both companies. So the fact that he was the one to draw this makes sense. Like, very detailed artist. George Perez recently announced, like, a couple months ago, and we actually never talked about it on the show, that he had a pancreatic cancer, and he's not going to undergo further treatment at this point because he's done already a bunch of operations, and they said that even if he does this most recent operation, he's probably, it doesn't look good for him. So he said, I'm not going to undergo any further treatment. They give him about 6 months to live, and he wants to enjoy that time with his friends, family, and fans. So that's what he announced online. And when that happened, they announced that they were going to reprint this seminal work of his because it's been out of print for so long. And the fact that these two companies don't have a relationship where they, in a normal circumstance, they would actually reprint this, they agreed, along with the Hero Initiative's help with which is a charity that helps creators, comic creators that are financial need or health issues that George Perez helped found. They wanted to donate all the money. He actually said they want to donate the money to him. He said, I'm going to donate all the money to the Hero Initiative because when I'm gone, like, this is something I believe in, and he helped found, and he's like, I want all the money to go from the proceeds to this to that. So the fact that the Hero Initiative put this together is really nothing short of amazing that they actually pulled this off, because this is not, and they only said that they were doing 7,000 copies, and that's what was disappointing to a lot of people. And if you're a fucking scalper out there that picked this up and it's selling it for hundreds of dollars online and not donating the money to the Hero Initiative, because I know some people are trying to say, hey, I'm going to donate all the money to the Hero Initiative. Even so, shame on you, because like, honestly, like, that's disgusting to me. I don't know about you, Chris, but like the fact that people are going out there and doing that when this is just for such a good cause, like, it's ridiculous. But I don't know.
Well, 7,000 issues. I was happy to get my hands on one. I didn't, I wasn't a big fan of George Perez, and I heard his story, and I'm glad they printed it, and I'll take a look at it, see what's going on.
Yeah, man. I know I was a little long-winded on my part, but I wanted to explain like why this was such a big deal that they reprinted this, and I was happy to get my hands on this copy. And like you said, 7,000 copies. Like, we were fortunate enough to both get a copy of this, and yeah, it's really cool. I'm happy that I own this edition. I just think it's kind of shitty that people are trying to like make money off of this. And I know some comic shops are doing raffles and doing things for like in that sense, and or selling it for more and donating the money to the Hero Initiative. And I don't disagree with all that type of stuff. That's cool. Like, if that's what they want, if that's the way I want to go about it, because it like a lot of shops didn't get many copies of this, so I understand that much. I just don't think anybody who's trying to get personal gain off of this out there. George Perez, though, there is the picture that they released of George Perez holding it in his hands that they took with him. And the smile on this guy's face, man, this is somebody that you hear about in the industry that no one has a bad word to say about this dude. Apparently he's a professional who loved the work that he did, and the work that he did with these companies that I guess didn't feel burned by them like a lot of other fucking bitter comic creators from that period of time. And he loves his fans. So, I mean, shout out to George Perez, and hopefully enjoys his final days with us here. And like you, Chris, I was never a huge George Perez fan, but I'm getting a new appreciation of his work now as a result of everything going on. And this is a good story. I've read this. I have the actual original issues of this as well, but I was happy to pick up this trade, man. So
nice.
So there you have it. All right. So that's hopefully you guys were able to pick up a copy for yourself out there. If you were, or if not, celebrate the George Perez. He's a great artist, and he's got lots of great stuff out there you can check out. So, all right, Chris, what we're picking up next week? You got your list?
Oh yeah, let's see. I got Avengers Forever 4, Captain America Iron Man 5. That's the end of that, so I'm happy that's over. Demon Days Blood Feud. Not too keen on picking that up, but I will. Got Devil Reign X-Men 3, Maestro World War Maestro 2, Wolverine Patch 1, X Lives 5, Action Comics 1041, Deathstroke 7, and Trial of the Amazons Wonder Girl #1.
I think it's X Deaths, actually. I think X Live wasn't X Lives this week, or I think X Deaths is the one that's next week. If no, that's what I have written down.
Oh yeah, X Deaths. Sorry, my bad.
No worries. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Anything you're most looking forward to out of those, or?
Nothing overly. Avengers Forever has been good so far, so I'm happy to read that. I'm looking forward to Captain America ending. I'm looking forward to the Devil's Reign. See what's going on with that story. Yeah, I've been kind of digging that the X-Men there, or the White Queen story, whatever is going on in there.
Yeah,
and the Action Comics 1041. That's Superman in Chains. That's been going on for a while now, and maybe there's some end in sight, but I'm liking that one so far.
All right. I'm going to go next week. I'm looking forward to grabbing Black Hammer, or not looking forward. What I'm grabbing is Black Hammer Reborn 10. Devil's Reign X-Men 3, Ghost Cage #1 from Image Comics, Harley Quinn 13, Human Target 6, Saga 57. I'm glad you picked up the Wolverine patch. I'm also picking that up. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, it's I know it's not everyone's favorite era of Wolverine, but I am a fan of the patch, the Badge of 4 years. Some of it's good. But I'm looking forward to that. Larry Hama, the original writer of one of the original writers of the Wolverine series back in the days, coming back to do that. So now this is not one I had on my list, Chris, but I might pick it up last minute or read it online or something like that. I'm kind of interested in this. It kind of slipped past me. Rogues. Did you hear about this? It looks like
I saw the ads for it in the DC Comics, but I'm not familiar with them, so.
Yeah, it's like Captain Cold and like the Flash, like Rogues Gallery, essentially. Like it looks like they're doing a DC Black Label take on them, and I was like, okay, it's going to be like a mature title or take on these guys. I think that might be interesting, so I might check that out last minute. I don't know. I'm not 100% on that as of yet. And then also I might check out this other one too, digitally. We have Demons #1, which is a digital comic that's already been out there. It's Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo who worked on Batman together. It's a 3-issue series that they have going on. Dark Horse is printing that. We have Demons, so I might check that out. And also, the finale of X Deaths of Wolverine, which we've been enjoying much more than X Lives, although X Lives finished well, like we said today. So I think I'm most looking forward to Ghost Cage. That's gonna be really good. That's from a great artist, Nick Dragata, through Image Comics. I'm looking forward to Ghost Cage, Human Target, and Saga the most probably next week. I gotta say, out of the releases, but
I'm gonna have to see what's going on with the Saga business here.
It's a good book, man. It's a good book. And I mean, like, if you need to catch up, like there's easy ways to do that out there now. Some cheap.
Well, I mean, even from the beginning of the new run, I guess, or the new, I don't want to say the new run, but didn't it just start up a couple issues ago, right?
Yeah. You might have to check it out, man. You might have to jump on that. It's a good one.
All right.
All right. Well, that's what we're picking up next week, guys. Look forward to that. And our favorite book of the week, Chris.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to go with the World's Finest, I think.
Nice. Yeah, man. That's good. Good pick. I'm gonna go with Reckoning War, Trial of the Watcher for mine. Really enjoyed
it. Bad one I don't have.
World's Finest was good though. Yeah, it was definitely in the running, but Reckoning War. I'm gonna go with Trial of the Watcher. So those are our favorite books of the week, guys. All right, so something I forgot to mention at the top of the show, though, I quickly want to mention and shout out to Julie from the Late Night Chat Network, who actually just created our comic art, our comic shop talk art that you see in the corner of the screen now. She actually created the overlay here for us, as you can see in the corners here. So thank you for that. You're going to probably see those along with the posts that we post on social media, Instagram, and all this kind of stuff with the comic shop talk logo art as well for the show. And so shout out to Julie Mack from the Late Night Chat Network, our friend there, and she made the art for our show here. So I really enjoy that. All right. Well, with that being said, though, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, hit that like button and that notification bell to be notified when these shows come out. And as always, we'll see you guys next week. See you later.
All right.